This is a Film Stories original podcast.
If you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles and have an auto warranty about to expire or no warranty coverage at all, listen up. CarShield has a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that covers more parts than ever. Visit carshield.com/audio to find out how you could pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Get your free quote today at carshield.com/audio. That's carshield.com/audio.
We made this.
Hello, welcome to the XCast. The truth is in here. This is our special Fight the Future Minute podcast. I am your host, Marlene Stimme. You are listening to our coverage of minute 90 of the X-Files Fight the Future. This minute begins at 89 minutes with Mulder falling into a hole in the snow and ends at 89 minutes and 59 seconds with Mulder climbing into a dark, icy corridor and looking ahead at a circular opening of light in the distance, presumably the end of the tunnel. To discuss this minute, I'm joined by XCast patron Annie Flowers. Hey, Annie, welcome to Fight the Future Minute.
Hi, good to be here.
Yeah, good to have you back. So when we last saw Mulder, he was running across the ice and he had fallen into a hole when the ice broke through. So as we join him, he falls through the first hole in the ice and slides a few feet to a floor, and he falls through that and hits that ice floor, and then falls through that floor and lands in a crevice that has a solid floor. So I watched this a few times to kind of make sure because it happens really quickly, and he fell through 3 levels within approximately 3 seconds. So it was, this like big journey kind of to the underworld for him. It's a lot of physical work, but it also was sort of significant, I thought, that he's falling through these 3 levels of ice.
Absolutely, and it seems like it would be so painful. I'm not really sure what that quote-unquote ice is made of, but I can't imagine that it would be easy on the body. And that's a really good observation about the levels of hell, because this has got to be hell for Mulder, just alien domination, and Scully's gone missing. So that was a really good observation. I didn't think about it that way at all.
Well, I tried to, because it seems very like underworld mythology oriented, and I was looking for some things that were significant, so I figured like Chris Carter is going to have something that has to do with religion and mythology. So when I looked into this, I read that in Greek mythology, there are actually like 3 different levels of the underworld, and that's pretty much all I got. So I don't know like how we could necessarily, correlate that. But then he's just falling and landing on the ground. So I think it's just this significance of him going like 3 levels under,
right,
into the underworld, rather than that being like the whole story. It's just one of those like numerical things that Chris Carter seems to love to add into the X-Files. So
and I think that's enough. I think that's really good, because this is Mulder's hell. I can't imagine it being worse for him, honestly.
Yeah. And he's also going down there, there's this mythological journey motif of him going like into the underworld to find Scully and bring her back. And that's kind of a classic story too.
Definitely.
Yeah. In the moment, he appears to be in pain.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if it was from the Making of Fight the Future book or one of the videos that I posted on Twitter that my husband digitized for me. But I think it was David Duchovny. I can't remember if it was David Duchovny, Rob Bowman, or Frank Spotnitz talking about what a physical achievement this all is. And I think David Duchovny was talking about being bruised from all the falling that he had to do. So it is very difficult for them, for David at this point, to be doing all these things.
Yeah. And I mean, we have a lot of practical effects and, CGI effects and like visual effects that we'll talk a little bit about, but you can't really escape having to have the actor do some of these things himself. So I think that he probably was like in the physicality of that most of the time.
I think he wanted to do his own physical work as well.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think he mentioned it. So Mulder takes a moment to gather his wits about him. He kind of stands up and he's looking around, and he looks down this kind of a narrow hole that has icy mist flowing into it. And then he looks up at his surroundings. So that's kind of an interesting, I mean, he can't get back up and he wouldn't want to, but it's interesting that he looks like forward and then also backwards from where he came, I thought, and then makes a decision to kind of slide down the hole and then through that tunnel forward.
Right. I think he is assessing the best way to proceed, if he needs to climb out of the hole and try to find a real entrance, or if this is the best that he's going to get, and if he should just proceed down the hole. And he just he makes the right decision. It leads him. We think it leads him to where he's supposed to go. Right.
Yeah, and it's Mulder, so that is the best he's going to get. But also, it's Mulder, so like this sort of thing that looks like a bad event actually works out serendipitously to his good fortune, I think. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And so then as we approach the end of the minute, he's sort of looking into the circular tunnel, which leads to a light opening at the end. And it sort of looked like a full moon. I thought that was a really great visual that they had, because it has the mist over the light opening of that. So he starts to head into that.
You're so observant with the mist and the full moon. I didn't even think about it that way.
That's totally my MO. I love like the misty full moon, kind of Halloween, subterranean atmosphere. So I noticed that for sure. And then this idea that he's just going deeper into the earth, but still following the full moon. So there was that. And then also there's this mood music in the score that kind of is combined with all the sort of distorted wind and the subterranean echoing sounds that I really liked, because, we talked about before when Mulder is up on the ice, there's not a lot of score or ambient music, and it's mostly just like natural sounds and wind and so forth. So this is kind of an interesting blend of both, I thought.
Right. It was much more arid up on the ice, whereas it's a little more closed off here, and I guess you're getting more of the music.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's a good combination for him going into the underworld. Well, did you have any other thoughts on this particular minute?
I don't know if I can dissect it more than we already have.
I find it very enjoyable, but again, there's not a lot of change in activity, let's say, in this minute.
Right. I guess I like Mulder's perseverance. He's fallen, he's probably hurt, and he knows what he has to do, so he continues on his journey, which I respect.
Yes, I do too. So that's all for this Fight the Future Minute. We will be back next time for Minute 91, for which I will once again be joined by Annie. In the meantime, where can our listeners follow you on social media?
Yes, so I can be found on Twitter at Annie A. Flowers, and I am sometimes in the basement on the XCast X-Files Basement group on Facebook.
Okay, thank you. And I am on Twitter at Marlene MHS and on Facebook in the XCast Basement group as well. So thank you for joining me. Thank everybody for listening. And until next time, trust no one.
Elsewhere on We Made This. Life's milestones.
Whenever it was that there was that census where there was the campaign to try and get everybody to say that their religion was Jedi.
Oh, I remember it well. I think I did put Jedi, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I was adamant that I really wanted to put that down because it aligns a lot more with my beliefs than anything else. Star Wars has always been there for me. But yeah, that's when my mum was saying, no, we had you christened, and I ended up losing that one. And then when I lived on my own for a later census, I just, by that point, just put non-religious.
I'm in a band podcast.
Flaming Lips did a gig and they were all in bubbles. So the whole band, them big bubbles you get that you can play football in? The whole band were in them and all the people in the crowd were in one of them.
I'd go to the gig with a pin and fucking ruin everyone's evening.
You need a big pin.
Then you have to get out of your bubble first with your pin. They're going to see you.
You have a bubble with a pin on it. Or what? You're like a sea urchin just going around causing chaos.
Rolling around.
Could you have a fag enough?
I suppose you could, because your own bubble, innit?
frame to frame.
So Sean, have you got anything further you wanted to say on the two films that we've looked at this week?
I think they're both overlooked gems, and anyone who hasn't seen them needs to go and check them out pronto. Enough said.
I agree with you. We could have also called the theme for this week Nerdy White Guy Tries to Find Love.
But are you having a go at me there?
No, I'm just saying...
Because I bore my heart when talking about the way back. I thought you were having a pop at me there.
No, absolutely not. I'm just saying that that's what we could have called the theme for this week.
I mean, we could have done. It could have been like, podcaster recalls painful memory of riding bike in front of girl.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.
When it comes to weight loss, no two people are the same. That's why Noom builds personalized plans based on your unique psychology and biology. Take Brittany. After years of unsustainable diets, Noom helped her lose 20 pounds and keep it off.
I was definitely in a yo-yo cycle for years of just losing weight, gaining weight, and it was exhausting.
And Stephanie. She's a former D1 athlete who knew she couldn't outtrain her diet, and she lost 38 pounds.
My relationship to food before Noom was never consistent.
And Evan, he can't stand salads, but he still lost 50 pounds with Noom.
I never really was a salad guy. That's just not who I am. Even through the pickiness, Noom taught me that building better habits builds a healthier lifestyle. I'm not doing this to get to a number. I'm doing this to feel better.
Get your personalized plan today at Noom.com. Real Noom users compensated to provide their story. In 4 weeks, the typical Noom user can expect to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week. Individual results may vary.